Welcome to Black and White Movies. I'm Jared and
Danielle.
And this is where we discuss two movies that are thematically bonded to one another or have some other connective tissue that warrants examination. Today we are discussing 1999's The Best Man and 2011's Bridesmaids. So I'll kick things off by opening it up and telling you guys what Bridesmaids is all about and introduce that movie. So Bridesmaids was directed by Paul Feig, and it features starring and breakout roles from funny people such as Kristen Wiig, Maya Rudolph, Melissa McCarthy, Rebel Wilson, and a whole cadre of familiar faces. Kristen Wiig plays Annie. She's a hot mess, failed small business owner that crumbles under the pressure of being the maid of honor to her childhood friend Lillian, played by Maya Rudolph. And she faces competition for the reign as best friend from newcomer Helen. So, Danielle, do you want to tell us about Best Man?
Yeah, I'm going to read this canned version of the...
You can't just read someone else's words. You have to... On this show, you have to have an original short synopsis.
Okay, next time. Anyway, it's about a group of friends who get together for a wedding. And one of them, and this is a few years after college, and how one has written a takeoff novel of everybody's lives by replacing... Oh, excuse me, spoiler alerts in here, by replacing everybody with fictional characters. And so he's on the brink of getting this best-selling novel out into the world, and they're going for his best friend, and he is the best man of that particular wedding. And so now everybody comes to find out that he's done this tell-all book, and craziness ensues. This particular film was directed by Malcolm D. Lee and stars, Taye Diggs, Nia Long, as well as Morris Chestnut, and of course, the sneaky and cunning... Why is his name leaving me a blank? Because Jared's staring at me.
I'll let you hang there.
I'm sorry. Why did my head just go blank? Terrence Howard. Oh, jeez, how did I forget Terrence Howard?
Can't forget his eyes.
Anyway, wonderful cast. We'll get into them very soon because that is the draw of this film.
Yeah. We have two movies, one full of gals, one full of fellows, and they take place around a wedding. So do you remember the first time you saw Bridesmaids?
I did. I actually saw it in the movie. I actually saw it in the theaters. I was a little underwhelmed. I'm not going to lie. The first time I saw it, it was not funny. I didn't laugh. It actually was, it made me laugh the second time. I don't know why, but it was some dead spaces in there. So I do remember seeing it in the movies when it first came out. Not after people were talking about it. I went before the feedback, which I like to do.
I kind of similar. It's a fun movie. I could watch it anytime it's on TV. It's funny. What you kind of have to enjoy the characters that are in it. What's your take on Kristen Wiig or her character Annie?
I like female coming apart movies. I don't like people who are so perfect and put together. So I thought it was a great contrast between her and the new best friend character. It was honest. She did a very honest portrayal, in my opinion, about what it looks like when you feel some sort of way about not accomplishing whatever it is that you set for yourself and then what people have for you.
She's a sloppy, failed small business owner. Like her cake shop failed. That seems to be the only area of life she's competent in, or like an adult.
Yeah, you encompass that pretty perfectly. That's exactly what she is. But then she's lashing out at everybody else for being that too, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I can't figure out where the hell this movie takes place because sometimes I hear words like Chicago, Minneapolis, and but then often they end up in dusty like vineyards, and I'm like, where is this?
It felt like Illinois, but it could have totally been Canada. It probably was Canada since these are a bunch of Canadian people.
Yeah.
And they to play for U.S. random anywhere kind of place.
You know what I hate about this movie?
No.
One of the most charming characters, and the one you're supposed to kind of feel the most for, the most affable characters, is a white Irish cop, and who has a romance with Kristen Wiig, and he's probably the most level-headed straight man. They even what's kind of offensive to me is they even kind of have jokes about he pulls her over for the taillight being out, which a lot of people in real life experience being pulled over for the taillight being out or not being out, but claiming it's out. And she gets off, and it's kind of like a running gag of it. So it's weird feeling, kind of making a joke and trying to be charmed by this Irish cop who, like, how does an Irish man fresh off the boat become a cop anyways?
It was very odd, wasn't it? And I wondered, is he supposed to be playing? I mean, because I've seen him in other films later. Not probably this was my first time seeing him, but that doesn't mean that he hasn't been around. Just means it was my first time seeing him. And so I was wondering, did they mean to do that? Because it doesn't seem like he knows anything about America. But then again, like you said, where does this take place? Because it didn't necessarily expressly say they were in the U.S., right?
Yeah.
So it could have easily been Canada, period, or just somewhere in the world that's kind of like where you live. But no, I thought he was cute, meaning fun. You know, his character was fun, but it was a little creepy. He kept showing up.
And he's honestly abusing his power all the time.
Absolutely.
He lets her off because she flirts with him a little. They play with the gun, the speed radar on the side of the road. He kind of leaves his post to go drink in a bar with her. So he's constantly abusing his power to pick up a woman.
It was a very odd relationship, and it was a relationship of convenience.
Yeah.
That a lot of times women will fall for whoever's close.
Yeah.
And it seems like proximity was the key.
And a lot of times police officers use their power to get their way with women too.
Yep.
Get them off the clock. And that's Officer Rhodes, played by Chris O'Dowd, and he's a Irish. I think it was a case of they probably had the script, and then they could get him, and he's a charming, nice guy. So hey, give him a part, make him a Irish cop.
I kind of think all of those. There's a group of people. He's in that group, and so they just kind of pick from that group, like this whole stable of movies. Maya Rudolph and Kirsten Wiig.
And Paul Feig he's kind of like the man's dapper feminist director, because he leaves every improv take Melissa McCarthy does in every film, so that makes him a feminist.
Actually, because sometimes it could have been easily skipped over.
Yes, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do get like improv fatigue from this and other movies. The words that this movie makes me think of is white privilege, because this is a very Obama era movie where I think they consciously are saying this is a post. I could see Paul Feig and others saying this is a post-racial movie, where Maya Rudolph would be the black character in it, and she's meant to be black. Her father's black, but there's no point where race is an issue.
Gulp. I'll say it like this. I don't think there is such a thing. I think either you expressly avoid the topic of race, which this movie clearly did, as opposed to our next film, The Best Men, right? That expressly dives in, even to the point where it makes it cringy, probably for somebody who isn't black, right? And so for me, I think when I saw it, you kind of check out, because to me, most movies are the quote unquote mainstream films anyway, and they don't think to include the topics of race. Now, is it necessary for this particular film? Not really. It's not like Friends or something where you're like, hey, you're in New York. Why the hell aren't there any other people whatsoever? That's kind of odd. If you're in, Sex and the City, why aren't there any other black people or Puerto Ricans or whoever? So that didn't stand out so much, because it seemed like an area where there probably wouldn't be too many black people in the first place. And so for them to be best friends, and for her to be half black but have absolutely no connection to blackness whatsoever, they expressly made her husband white. You know what I mean? So they were clearly like, oh, we're just going to throw this in, and she just happens to be black. It's not an issue. Never comes up. It doesn't matter, right?
That's why I think this movie had to come out or it suits the Obama era perfectly, because I think this film and also The Best Man are trying to kind of be above and beyond race, but they're coming at it from two different ends of the spectrum. Like, I think I think the way they made this movie, Paul Feig makes movies, they inhabit a universe where race just doesn't exist. It pretends there is no difference between people, and we're all on the same playing field. And
clearly we're not. I think, well, so even though these movies aren't that far apart, less than a decade, right? Doesn't seem like it would be a huge difference, but there is a monumental shift in consciousness between 1999 and 2011. And just like you said, during the Obama era, everybody thought we had arrived, right? But we didn't bother to go through any of the steps to get to the arrival part. And so, clearly we're seeing the backlash now.
Yeah.
And we're seeing the results of it, even in a comedy.
Yeah. But let's play a brain game and put Nia Long from Best Man. Let's put her character in the Kristen Wiig character. And she's driving with a busted taillight. She's joyriding in front of a cop, littering in front of a cop. She's on a plane, drunk and on drugs, acting all kinds of crazy. And she would clearly not have the same experience that, even though Kristen Wiig's character is...
I beg to differ. Titties are titties, right? Now, you throw in a Morris Chestnut in that car.
Female privilege gets you a long way.
Female privilege does change things. So you have a little bit less of a window, but you still have a chance.
As long as the cop wants to fuck you,
exactly,
they'll let you get away with some business.
Exactly. Peen talks. Yes.
But it's fun. I think what I really enjoyed about Bridesmaids the first time I saw it, which kind of lessens each time you see it, is fun to see female-led characters kind of acting crazy. And
I loved, that was the part that I did like about it, probably the second time around. The first time around, I don't know about you, but my favorite part of it was the Dookie scene, which was hilarious in the fitting. I mean, clearly I was in tears. It's
gross out humor you expect from like a stereotypical guys film, but now you're watching women.
Exactly. And I love that they went there, like they didn't pull back from it at all. And girls are just like that, and so to me, I appreciated that part. And this was the first time that a film kind of gave permission to women to kind of be outright, like, not crude. It just happened. Like it was, you know what I mean? It was not like, it
wasn't gratuitous. It was all in story.
Exactly.
And it's always funny to see someone shit their pants. And then you make their pants a wedding dress in the middle of the street. It's kind of hilarious. So are there big thoughts you had about Bridesmaids before we talk about Best Man?
I did. I love the the competition and the friendship. It happens all the time. I don't know how guys are because I'm not one. But in terms of feeling friends being jealous of one another and trying to one-up one another. One of my other favorite scenes in Bridesmaids was definitely at the reception when they were trying to go back and forth on the mic.
Oh, yeah.
Give the speech.
Sing.
It was classic because it just encompassed kind of like how women are. So that is... Really?
Women are like that?
In my female experience, I'm going to say yes. Not overtly. We're not going to go, to karaoke and try and, what I'm saying, one up each other. But in terms of, this is my friend. And hey, my friend, I want you to meet my new friend. And there's always this little side eye like, where'd she come from? You know what I mean? There is that. So I thought that was honest.
So it's delightful. We see all aspects of female relationships, competition, friendships.
Yeah, it balances out in the end.
Smashing the cookie.
All of it. All of it.
So we're going to compare both movies, but let's talk a little bit about Best Man. And this was actually my first time seeing this movie.
Of course, because why would you see this?
Well, and I still have not seen the Best Man trilogy. This is part of a trilogy, I believe.
There's only two.
There's Best Man Wedding and Best Man Holiday, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna have to.
But there's not a third one yet.
But that is 3.
No, there's the Best Man was the wedding.
Best Man. Oh, that is.
Yeah, that's the wedding.
Yeah.
And then the Best Man Holiday.
There's not a second Best Man Wedding. Best Man Wedding 2.
No. So the funny thing about the Best Man, and we haven't even got into it yet.
I thought it was a trilogy.
Right. It's supposed to be.
Okay.
we talked about financial successes, right?
Yeah.
This was very financially successful during its time. Very, people loved it, or Black people loved it. So, and Black films tend to make more money than mainstream films because there just aren't that many of them. And so they give them a lower budget, and it's easy to kind of smash the disrespectful budget in the first place. Well, you would think that would mean that they would easily, hey, greenlight the next film. Didn't happen.
Yeah.
Until like almost a decade later. So trying to get all of these people who then became these mega stars, it was trying to get their schedules together to come back for a reunite and get the studios to agree and the director to agree, because he also came back for the second one. But it was...
It's a normal production challenges kind of though.
No, it was actually 20 years later, excuse me.
Extra production challenges.
Yes. So you didn't see this.
But those kinds of things happen.
20 years later?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Come on. The Best Man, like you introduced it, it's about guys coming together for a wedding, and there is kind of male infighting as opposed to the Bridesmaids, kind of female cliquishness. And our main guy, played by Taye Diggs, Harper, he has kind of embedded the drama of their previous college experience together inside of his new narrative book, and all his friends are reading it right at this as things culminate with this wedding, and he's in some deep shit because he's buried some secrets, like his love for Jordan in there, and that also he had slept sex with his
the wife to be
wife to be of the man he's marrying, and he's the best man.
Monica Calhoun's character,
and all those secrets. And now the most implausible thing about this movie to me is, as a writer, when I write something, none of my friends read it, but all his friends were like clamoring to read it. And,
well, you didn't write a book, Jared. You wrote 1,000 scripts.
Well, I got a book too, but no, yeah. So I mean, you're a writer too. Do your friends actually read things you write that you don't ask them to?
Well, no, they definitely. I have to beg them to, or at least ask, and they will. The reason my friends read mine is because they know I'll probably make it. That was not to say you wouldn't. I'm just saying.
Oh, you got me.
I'm sorry. No. That was no. I'm sorry. That was disrespectful.
No, it wasn't. But but moving along, there was a phrase in this movie I had to look up. But once I looked it up,
which one was it?
When she said, I forget who said it, but she said CP. I was on CP time, and I was like, CP time. What is this? I looked it up, and it stands for colored people time, which I had heard. I just hadn't heard it, the shorthand of it like that before.
When I heard it, when I was watching it again, I said, I wonder if Jared's going to know what the heck
I had to Google it, but I had heard colored people time. I just hadn't heard the...
Yeah, CPT. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
I think we should...
That is a thing.
We should call it AAT, African American time.
Who's the African American?
Well... But I should never say that term, though, outside of the...
No, you probably shouldn't.
Outside of the safe space, I shouldn't say CP time.
No, unless you just mean like Chris Paul or something. Yeah, it would probably... That's one of those things that, we get, you don't,
But this movie similarly felt colorblind to me in a way different than how Bridesmaids did. In this movie, you could play a drinking game where you take a shot every time you see a white person. There's like no white people in this movie at all, which, hey, I'm not complaining. It's just very interesting. And this film skips between Chicago and New York, I believe. I think they consciously were like, let's have a universe where just black people can have a black story and inhabit that space without being sullied by white people energy.
I saw it in a different way. I think in a family structure, in an environment like this, when you're getting ready for a wedding, it doesn't call for any white people, right?
Yeah.
So if all the white people listening and Asian and other and whoever, look to your right, and who do you see? Most of the time, you're going to see somebody that looks like you, or the people that you surround yourself with, whether you're at work or whether you are at home. You're going to, and these are their close-knit friends. So it's not like a Sex in the City where you're out right in the middle of the day, or you're in a Woody Allen movie and there's just no other people whatsoever. Like, what the fuck, right?
Yeah.
It's a little bit different. It's kind of it's in a capsule. It's context. So I don't think it needed it. Now, did I feel like it was very aspirational? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which everybody was so successful, and I think that time after college, especially because they did qualify with them being college graduates and newly out, you're the most ambitious and you're the most hungry when you don't have kids, and you're going after it. So at this time, even though it seems very aspirational, one's a pro football player, another's an author,
TV director.
You know, even Terrence Howard, who's a struggling artist, he's super successful, and you know what I'm saying, dreamy.
Oh, they tried to play him off like he was failing because he's bouncing from one thing to another, but they introduce him by him playing guitar backwards, and every woman in the whole audience is like dripping wet for him. So I'm like, don't clown on him. He's like excellent on that guitar.
Exactly. So they missed us with that one. It was like, come on, knock it off. So, for me, I think that this was around the same time as a lot of other films. It had reason I say it was context both within the film and also without. This was a very conscious time, the late 90s going over into the Jiggy era, right? And so it was kind of, people were upwardly mobile. People were positive about the kind of things that could happen, and there could be a life without white people. That was, very popular with going to HBCUs, historically black colleges, if you don't know that acronym. And so they come out, they are inside of an insulated place where there are people that just look like you. And then you come out and you continue that same lifestyle, because that's what your network is.
The word that came to mind for me is black excellence. You said that they're all aspirational, and so I thought of that term, black excellence, because you got to see a story of people that looked a certain way, and it didn't have to do with race. Their race was incidental, but they all were successful in some way, and the drama was all around their interpersonal relationships and not outside cultural things.
Yeah, I think a lot of this was very harmful.
You think this movie in general was harmful?
Not intentionally, not overtly. I think it was, the wealth gap that we are living through right now is a byproduct of not wanting to acknowledge how far behind, because, as it's said by so many now that people are recognizing, once the financial crisis hit, right, and black people, the only way they had wealth was in their grandmama's or grandpapa's home, and they started losing those, and that was taken away in a blink of an eye during, let's say, 2008 through 2011.
The pre-housing crisis,
right?
Which the housing crisis affected black people much more than other.
Absolutely. So it wiped it out. Yeah. So this was kind of like people were still riding the wave of being able to see some of that, tangible wealth where, hey, I could go to college and my parents still afford to pay for it and live and do things. And so that now that we're in a place where nobody can afford college, nobody can afford a home, you have to be making so much more money. It was a very deceptive time.
So by ignoring socioeconomic realities, it kind of did a disservice in some way while it was trying to be aspirational in other ways.
In my opinion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's interesting because Bridesmaids did come about 10 years later, and you do see you see economic
downturn. I think they even mentioned it because of the crisis.
Her bakery closed because of and maybe she's a bad baker. We don't know, but
that's possible.
But yeah,
she did make some kind of cool things in the movie. But
no, I don't know anyone who goes to cook one cupcake at a time. That's just inefficient. But So what else do you got to say about Best Man? I have to introduce that to me. on the flip side of Bridesmaids, this movie seemed a little misogynistic to me, and I would say it failed the Bechdel test.
Kinda? Yeah,
You don't see two women talking to each other unless it is about a guy in some way or another.
Okay. That again goes back to the point of the book, right? So the whole story surrounds the book, and the book is about these relationships. So that's fair.
Yeah.
They don't ever talk about one another or to one another in any way meaningful, outside of let's get your hair done for the wedding. But then again, it was the females. To me, weren't the point of the movie.
They weren't the center of the film, but when I was watching it, I was like, a man definitely wrote this movie, because the character of Jordan, especially, she's professional, she's smart, she's funny, she's charming. But then when she gets a chance to, she basically comes up to Taye Diggs' character, Harper, and she's like, basically, if you want to fuck me tonight, you can come over and fuck me.
Yeah.
And then
like out of nowhere, that was so random.
He calls her up, and she's all ready in lingerie with candles, and then so this guy Harper, he wrote a good book. He's a handsome guy, but he has the two women fawning over him, and it seems like a male fantasy to me, especially that opening scene where he's getting washed in a bath with petals and candles. Nobody ever bathes with 1,000 rose petals.
Well, let's clearly say that this movie doesn't hold up.
Yeah, okay.
Right? This was before the Tyler Perry era. Mm-hmm. Which everybody's
BTP.
all done up and glitzed and glammed, and I think this birthed it, right? Yeah. Which is annoying to me. I hate seeing everybody all super shined up and camera ready for a film. But this was the launch of that, and you love to see beautiful black people. People are tired of seeing slave movies and downtrodden, and so this was refreshing at that time. Because it's like only one way. Like you only see somebody in a buffoonish way, or you see him in a slave narrative, or some sort of oppressive manner. And so this was groundbreaking. So this was before all of that, and you got Morris Chestnut, he's fine as hell. Mm-hmm. You got all these good looking guys, Taye Diggs, Terrence Howard, all of them. They were Harold Pernew. Don't let me not,
everyone's stunning in the movie,
right?
Gorgeous people.
Exactly. But I agree with you. It was very what they would call hyper masculine or
male gaze.
Toxic, and it was just like I don't believe in any of those stupid terms anyway. But I appreciate seeing black males in a stronger position, and so I'll take it. If that means that I have to hear somebody say something misogynistic, then it was an error.
If they made this movie today, I'm sure if I get around to watching the sequel, it'll have corrected some of that.
Totally different. Yeah,
'cause we're in a different era now, and all the characters, misogynistic as it may be, all the characters were overall positive portrayals. They're all good people with small social ills of character, but
it was a little bit of a remedial story. I think I was clearly a lot younger when I saw it first, and so I didn't have a lot of expectations of a film. I think my film understanding is a little bit bigger, and I would have wanted to have it be more of a deeper story, I guess. Because to me, I hate, like with the Purple Passion, things that I see coming around the corner. Like, we know he's going to find the damn book and read the book. Just read the book. Yeah. Like, let's get to it. I can't take that. That is a tried.
Yeah, hiding the book in the pocket. He's going to read it eventually, man. Come on.
Like, what, can we do something else?
But I loved tracking the character Quentin by Terrence Howard, just because he was the guy who was always kind of like telling the audience, okay, we're going to get there. So like, why don't you guys, he was trying to call out.
He was devilish. He was interesting.
But for a good purpose, because he always was 2 steps ahead. He knew everyone's game and their number, and he could kind of see what was coming. I felt like in a way he was kind of the director's character and Malcolm D. Lee's character. When Malcolm D. Lee was writing this, I think he saw himself in Quentin, the cool guy playing guitar backwards who knew everything that was going on.
Yeah. I could see that, but I don't know Malcolm D. Lee like that personally, where I could say that he would put himself in that world as opposed to a character that he would have wanted to see if this situation was breaking out, right?
Yeah. I can tell you he hated Shelby. Everyone was shitting on Shelby.
She was the funniest character, wasn't she?
Everyone was just shitting right on her.
Everybody has a Shelby. Everybody knows a mass manipulator.
Yeah.
They don't want to tell you who it is, but I know a Shelby.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you want to open it up and compare these two movies a little bit more?
These are a male version of Getting Ready for the Altar and a female version. And I think that because unlike Bridesmaids, where they don't ever even allude to the husband, like you almost forget that he's a character in the movie, the whole entire thing hinges upon the fidelity of this virgin, character and keeping her, purity. And it's like, first of all, it's ridiculous. But, again, more aspiration
and
for a man.
He has expectations of her that he would never have for himself.
Exactly, which is bothersome in so many ways. But then again, they're rooting for Taye Diggs' character, Harper, to hook up with the Jordan. It's like, so which is it?
Despite him having
a fiance that's coming, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, so not like she's on her way. Like, you're just like, yeah, go for it, do it.
You better fuck Jordan tonight because your fiance's coming tomorrow.
Who does that? Yeah. Like, that's crazy to me. So,
including Jordan, who's
she's with it too.
She had no problem with that either.
No, you're right. There was no time when she was like going to. These are her best friends too. I'm assuming that you say like, you know what? I'm thinking about, or maybe it is. Maybe it got left on the cutting room floor. I don't know. Yeah. So we don't know. But it wasn't deep. My comparison is the fact that to go through and see the dynamics of a friendship, if I were thinking a better dramatic version of The Best Man came a little bit later. It was called The Wood.
Oh, The Wood, yeah.
Yeah, it was also with Taye Diggs, but it was a little bit more intricate in terms of the story.
Well, I think I think The Best Man for me could have gone the other way and been more comedic too, because Bridesmaids is a bit of a ridiculous movie on face value, but the humor of it works because everyone's personality is turned up a lot. So, and Best Man's a little in between, where it's more towards a traditional tone of a movie. So while I would say it's a romantic comedy. It treads light on the comedy aspect. It
treads super light on the romance too, doesn't it? Like where at what point it was kind of like, what is it?
I think that's a problem too, is because the character of Harper, he has kind of qualities where I wasn't rooting for him because he wasn't moored by a true romantic ideal or respect for anyone, so I wasn't rooting for him. So therefore, he didn't have like this strong romance with any of the characters.
I agree. And so the funny part about that you say is that then when this came out, he was a fresh face, right? He was like, oh, he's good looking, got a nice body. Even those glasses weren't cornball at the time. They're totally nerdy and not acceptable now, right?
Well, no, if he just brought him down the brim a little, he'd look like E40.
That's what we're going for. Yeah, that's the look. But so people were looking at eye candy as opposed to what his substance of his character was, right? Because the substance of his character was pretty crappy, like you said. And when I saw it now, I was like, he's kind of a dick. Like, I think he's like the worst character in this whole thing, and I'm not rooting for him at all. Yeah. Like, I felt bad for the Morris Chestnut character more so than him. Yeah. And I wanted him to get his ass kicked when he when he did so at that time. So I saw it a little bit different. But then again, time and space.
And then also know a man wrote this movie too, because when he at the wedding, it is nice to see him kind of pray with Lance, and then give the best man speech at the toast at the wedding.
Are you telling me?
See his character.
Hang on, Jared. Are you telling me that a man can't write female characters in softness, or are you telling me that this was just a crappy written movie?
No, I'm getting a man can, but I'm getting to why a man wrote this.
Okay, I'm trying to understand. Because the thing he does
next is he ends up proposing to Robin on the dance floor there, and everyone cheers and loves it, including the new bride and groom. Which, as a woman, if I have a feeling that if you were at your wedding and another couple got engaged, you'd be pissed off because that's just going to take the shine out of your special day.
You think so?
So I do not see the brand new bride clapping and cheering.
Okay, wait. So that brings me back to the brand new bride. Why were they trying to protect her so much? Like they didn't want they didn't want her to know that he wasn't there. Yeah. Like you're the one that she's the one that so-called messed up. It wasn't just Harper, right?
Yeah.
It was two takes two tango. And so I was trying to wonder why they were so protective of her.
Oh yeah.
And she remained angelic throughout, never unscathed. We all gave her a pass for cheating. And so I think her character is true to form. She would be clapping. That was very consistent with with how she played the whole entire thing. I don't think that anybody else would, not Jordan. Right? She wouldn't be clapping. But I think that, if you're going to stick with the character arc, then
just a little weird. Like Harper was straight up about to fuck someone else less than 24 hours earlier.
Less than 24 hours. That was hours.
Then he dances with her, gets her permission to essentially go with his girlfriend, and then he proposes. It's all a little. Wait, it's coming at you fast.
And then the fiance and Jordan team up.
Yeah.
What?
Yes. Yeah.
You know what you just did.
Cool. So your final thoughts are like comparing these two movies together. Because
people got married back in. You're married, right?
I'm getting there.
Good. Yeah. So people still do that apparently, but I don't know that they.
Or jumping the broom. People jump the broom.
Yes. I don't know that they do that anymore. I haven't been. Maybe I'm just not invited to weddings. Yeah. I don't know, but you would think more people would get married considering how tough it is. Anyway.
For economic reasons.
Yeah.
Well, I did. Yeah. So my final thought on The Best Man is that jumping the broom to me was one of those one small touches where it did feel like not just a movie with people, but a black movie.
Oh, just the jump in the broom?
The jump in the broom part. Well, one thing that put me off in the beginning was in the beginning of the movie, there was a lot of casual swearing. And I'm like, these are all like college graduates, highly professional people. And they're
black, Jared.
They're just cursing up a storm.
Yep.
Except for the one character, Julian Harold.
Harold Pernew.
He was the guy. He was like the urban youth leader, and he said a-hole instead of asshole. So I'm like, okay.
It was very shocking to hear the cursing again.
Yeah.
Even I think as you grow up, you just kind of use it less or more.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think it's setting in comfort. So remember we were talking about that. I think that when you're around people that you're used to and comfortable with, you tend to be more free with lips.
Yeah, okay. I can see that too. I have a foul mouth sometimes too. But for me, like what these films together bring into focus for me it's kind of black excellence versus white privilege. And they both, like I said earlier, I was thinking of post-racial world where these were movies that by not really addressing race were saying something about race and the time they were in.
Yeah, I really reject the term black excellence. But that's just fast forward to now. Mm-hmm. But I can see what you mean. Like, yes, these people were what you would want your kids to grow up to be when they, aspire to do something. I loved it, and I love that they all had different types of careers.
But it's a deterministic, aspirational thing, you said.
Which I'm okay with.
Can we talk a little bit about the below the line or above the line cast and crew? Like we mentioned, Malcolm D. Lee, cousin to Spike Lee, wrote and directed The Best Man. And for Bridesmaids, Paul Feig, I'm going to continue to say his name wrong, or at least think I'm saying his name wrong. He directed the script from Kristen Wiig and her writing partner, Annie Mumolo. So Paul Feig is like the male feminist comedy director, famous for Woman Ghostbusters, and
Why? So that was not the name of it, Jared. That sounds like a man wrote it.
but we have representation of black male and female. Do you have any thoughts on the production of either of these movies?
So neither of them were groundbreaking for me in terms of production value. I think that The Best Man was absolutely perfect for its time.
Yeah.
It doesn't stand up the test of time, but not a lot of movies in 1999 did.
Yeah.
I think The Matrix is a perfect example. I will continue to drag The Matrix because every time I watch, story-wise, yes. Yeah. Style-wise, no. So story, it depends. It's things that are classics, but not necessarily groundbreaking in terms of. And so I think that they stuck true, like this was original for its day, as well as Bridesmaids was groundbreaking and fun and out of the box for its day, even though it wasn't that long ago. So
the music in The Best Man, I thought it was great overall. Stanley Clarke did the music, so famous composer. Mm-hmm. And the music was good, except for the fight scene between Lance and Harper. It was like oddly kind of comedic. And
you didn't want to hear that?
It was like, it had a different tone. I think he thought it was going to be a funny scene. It was kind of funny. So watch it again. That'll stick out to you. And I think these are both these movies are edited interestingly. Like I think Best Man was a little over edited, whereas Bridesmaids was a little under edited. Like, for a comedy, Bridesmaids is a little long, and a lot of the improv is left in there that I think could have been trimmed out.
Absolutely.
Now, I had to look up the name of the editor for Best Man, and it's Kara Silverman. And I've seen a lot of her other movies, and where she does the same thing, where she'll use two takes from different cameras. So you'll see, say someone hits someone, then you'll cut, or kisses someone, then you'll cut to a different camera and show the hit and the kiss again. So it kind of makes it more impactful by repetition, but it kind of plays with time a little bit.
Well, that is inspired by Spike Lee.
Yeah, that's a Spike Lee touch, and she's edited other films of his as well.
You'll hear me a lot on this podcast, and I'm gonna lean to story all the time. I definitely find it difficult to, unless the film was a cinematic feat. Yeah. Right now, if we're sitting here watching, what was the movie when Leonardo DiCaprio's getting pounced by the bear? Yeah. Like that's a totally different movie we're talking about. I would like to focus on story. As a filmmaker, I think it's not fair. I would hate to be judged by anything I made back 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, I leave all permissions for certain things. And I like that storytelling mechanism of seeing multiple things, different angles and different takes. Not that you didn't, I'm just saying I like that.
It draws attention. It stood out to me. It's like, and I was like, yeah, and I looked up her other movies and I'm like, yeah, I remember seeing these in all those movies, and that's something you wouldn't see now. And that's also of its time. My final question for you is, would the forehead kiss work for you? If, say, Taye Diggs or someone else you're dating pulls the forehead kiss, what would that accomplish?
Let me explain how none of this would work for me. So it's all ridiculous. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous, the entire thing, which is why I said it doesn't stand up, because it was like, it may as well have been a Disney movie then and now. So like it was so ridiculous in terms of like, everybody's like going crazy over this Morris Chestnut character. Like, get out of here. Like, do people do that? I guess they do. I don't know. I've never been a fan.
It's like a football person or something.
Like, I don't even know what football players look like under their helmets. Like, I would never. They could walk in the door right now. I wouldn't know.
You and me are different, though. People care about football players. You and me are different.
Okay, you're okay. Maybe you're right. Maybe we are in a weird world where we don't care about celebrity. So yeah. Okay. So then no,
Okay.
Forehead kiss doesn't work on me. Good luck. Y'all do better than that.
What are we going to officially say is the wokest and the wackest film?
Ooh.
And we can think of this in the sense of bad and good too, because I think they're both woke in certain ways and whack in others.
I'm gonna let you go first.
So I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna use this rubric just as which movie do I enjoy the most. So good or bad. So I'm gonna say the wokest for me is Bridesmaids. The wackest is The Best Man. I'm gonna watch Bridesmaid again at some point. I probably won't watch Best Man again.
Yeah. Of course, I have to go with nostalgia's sake, so I'm gonna go with Best Man as the wokest because it was an awakening at that time. And I'm definitely gonna go with Bridesmaid as the wackest because of those painfully drawn out comedic scenes that went on way too long. The funny was funny, but then the not funny was painful.
Yeah, and Bridesmaids did make me have affection for a cop, so I do resent the movie for that.
Cops are good sometimes, right? So
well, you're not going to get me on mic saying that. But so, okay, before we wrap things up, though, I have a quick take. So there was an article I saw in the Wrap that just was one of those listicles that compiled the top 10 highest grossing movies directed by women. And since these movies, feminism and women-led films kind of came up today, I thought that'd be a good one for us to talk of. So I just want to run these down and get your reaction to them.
Okay.
So number 10 is from the year 2000, Nancy Meyers, What Women Want. Okay, number 9 is from director Elizabeth Banks, who has a new movie in theaters, Charlie's Angels, and Pitch Perfect 2. Number 8 from director Catherine Hardwicke is Twilight. Number 7 from Betty Thomas is Alvin and the Chipmunks, The Squeakquel. So not the first one, the second one.
Okay.
Number 6 is, and this is interesting, here's where we get into co-director territory. So some of these are kind of, it was co-directed by a man. But so Mark Andrews and Brenda Chapman, Brave. And then number 5 is Vicky Jensen and Andrew Adamson, Shrek. That's the first Shrek. Then this one, I'm interested in your reaction to this. 2003's The Matrix Reloaded from the Wachowski sisters.
We're going to go down a rabbit hole, and we will get to that another time.
Okay. Well,
but no, I'm going to say we're going to unsubscribe them from that particular list, even though so far it is my favorite on the list, which what does that say about me?
No, I said The Matrix Reloaded.
I know. I like 3. Oh, okay. I did not like 2. I thought it was trash. But the third one was legit. Yeah.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we'll just keep moving on. Mm-hmm. Number 3, directors Jennifer Lee and Chris Buck is Frozen.
So animated movies shouldn't be on here, right? So basically,
they're going to knock off half this list.
Yeah, because we're basically saying that women partnering up with men, and the only reason they do that is because they don't trust women to take the helm completely. Yeah. Even though they want a female director, they want like a little.
They want to say
the training wheels on. They want to put the training wheels on, and so that's what that is. They do it all the time with EPs. They do it all the time with writers' rooms, to see like, can she make it in this men's world? Like, no, just throw her in there and see what happens. Give her a chance. Give her the authority. Don't call her a bitch every time she tells somebody they're not doing what they're supposed to do. And then we'll see, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So no co-directing doesn't count.
Okay, so half this list is gone. Number 2 is from Patty Jenkins. It's Wonder Woman. Mm-hmm. And my copy paste skills suck. I neglected to put 1 on there. So any idea what number 1 is?
How would I know this is your list?
That I deleted out. So you're going to have to go to that listicle from the Wrap to know what number 1 is.
Now I'm like on the edge of my seat. I hate you for this. You're going to have to tell me.
Is Steven Spielberg a woman?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I think he's still
okay, so then number 1 is Jurassic Park.
Perfect.
All right. So any other thoughts? Is that it?
Yeah. Oh, okay. So from that list, I've seen pretty much all of them except for Alvin and Chipmunk. is it chipmunks or chickmunks?
Chipmunks.
Chipmunks. Okay. Yeah. So I still like The Matrix from the Wachowski sisters.
Yeah. I don't.
So they get to stay on the list since it's the only movie. And Wonder Woman is honorable mention. It's all right.
I'm not going to say what my favorite on this list
Why?
is. Because I don't really like any of these movies.
We didn't say like. We said we had to choose from this
All right,
list.
Shrek is my favorite on this list.
Yeah, Shrek is all right.
All right. All right. So anyways, thanks for listening to us today. That you've been listening to the Black and White Movies podcast. Thank you for listening. If you have any movie ideas or need to tell us something, go ahead and email us at blackandwhitemoviespodcast@gmail.com. And you can also reach out to us on Twitter and Instagram at BNW Movies Pod. Thanks so much, and we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.